Welcome back to another whiskey review from me boys, the Buffalo Happy Hour. Today we have Flavier Advent Calendar Day 9. And today we're going to be talking about a product that's just right inside here, and we'll get to that in a second. I did read already just based off of the little pamphlets they have here, so I'm not going to look at the back of the box, so don't yell at me, but the little doors that they have here are flight codes for the different airports that the whiskey is landing into, and it's kind of this whole flight theme. It's kind of cool, honestly. I like the way that Flavier did this. Honestly, so far I've been pretty happy with the Flavier experience. We'll talk about this at the end of the whole Advent calendar month, but I've been pretty happy with the way that they've done it so far. I will say, though, just because if you've been following my solo reviews that I've been doing without Mike, if you've been following my solo reviews, I've been trying to guess some of the stuff by myself without reading the information, but I will point out to you, this one has a airport code of SDF, which if you were around 2 days ago when we reviewed the other product that was SDF, we knew that it was from Kentucky. So I just wanted to put that out there for you, so you know that, like, I'm not just gaming the system. Like, I know it's Kentucky, obviously. I just see the same airport code. So I don't know what it is, though. I'm not going to look at the name of it. I didn't look at the name of the back because I want to see if I can tell whether it is a Kentucky bourbon or if it's a Kentucky rye. Again, I have no idea. I do know that it's called Mary something just because I saw a quick glance of it, but I did turn it back around without looking into it anymore. So let's go through it. We'll go through our normal process, pour this bad boy out, take a little sip of it, and we'll see where we go from there. I've been very vocal on this channel for the last years about Kentucky tasting very similar to each other. So it's been a fun experience to go through, or experiment to go through this process where I'm tasting them blindly and trying to guess what I like. I don't even want to see if I accidentally look at the label. But it's been a fun experience trying to figure out if I taste it being Kentucky. But obviously, since I know the airport code is Kentucky, it kind of gives it a little bit away. So I just got to forget what SDF is. Tell me to forget it. All right, nose. Let's go to the nose. I don't remember if I washed my glass out. I am smelling a bit more rye in this one. Also, my nose is plugged. It's been plugged. It's like 6 degrees today in Buffalo. I am smelling a bit more rye. I don't know if I'm smelling a bit more rye because it is, we'll get to it in the taste, but because it's a high rye bourbon or if it's just a rye whiskey. So, again, I didn't look at anything, so I have no idea. But off the nose, you're getting not the dry erase marker. So again, going back to yesterday's when I did the other high 100% rye, that one gave me a lot of dry erase marker because it was a 100% rye. I'm not getting the dry erase marker here. I'm kind of getting a little bit of the prickliness from the rye, but not as ethanol focused as a normal rye whiskey, 100% rye whiskey would be. So I'm teetering on the fact that this is either a 51% rye or a high rye bourbon, which would be 51% corn and then like a 27% rye or something like that. But I have no idea. Other than that, you're getting your typical Kentucky notes. You're getting a little of that splintered wood, which makes me feel like this is bourbon again. But splintered wood, you're getting the caramel, butterscotch, oak, all that typical Kentucky note. All right, nose, I'm going to be consistent with the other ones. I'm going to go C. This isn't anything that's destroying me where I feel like this is amazing. It's just one of those products that just seems pretty consistent. But again, we'll get to the taste. So, initial taste. This one's tough. You're getting a little bit of like a very quick creamed corn, I want to say. but it's not overpowering. It's almost like a Werther's butterscotch, and then it transitions to like a creamed corn. It's very, honestly, this is not a bad product at all. Out of the Kentuckys that I've had recently, I think that I like this one the best, which is kind of shocking. Again, no idea what this is, except it's from a distillery or a product called Mary something. I think that this is probably going to be a high rye bourbon. That's what my guess is going to be, and from Kentucky. The reason that I say high rye bourbon is because I'm not getting a ton of the flavor notes from the rye whiskey that I would probably think that I was going to get, but it's coming in through as like the sweeter creamed corn, Werther's caramel. It's very viscous, which I generally, again, I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I generally think that I associate that more with a bourbon than a rye whiskey. But yeah, so I'm going to go with, this is just a high rye bourbon. We'll see how it goes. But initial taste, honestly, I'm not mad about this one at all. I'm gonna surprise you. I'm gonna go B on a Kentucky initial taste. It's kind of shocking. Any note? Ending note lingers, which is good. It's funny I say that after I just took a sip and immediately said that, but it does linger. It kind of like crystallizes sugar in the back of your throat too. It goes down almost a little bit too viscous for me, to the point where you feel very, sounds weird, but it feels almost like sticky. Is that really what I'm trying to say? It just feels very thick, almost like a syrup type viscosity to it. I don't hate it because it means that the taste is lingering. And now that I'm saying syrup, I am kind of getting some of that like candied syrup type note, maybe like a maple syrup, caramelized maple syrup. Yeah, I actually don't mind this at all. And you know what? I'm going to go B minus. Let's go solid B. Let's be nice for this review. Let's go solid B. I think that this is a decent product, honestly. I think for this, it gives you just enough of that rye note. This could have no rye in it, but this is just what I'm tasting. It gives you just enough of that rye note where you are happy that it's not just like a typical Kentucky bourbon, but it's giving you a lot of those sweetness and the viscosity that make it a product that is worth taking another sip. A lot of these other products from Kentucky, just like the one earlier, just evaporate and just give you kind of nothing to to stick with you a little bit. And if it does, it's just that splintered wood note, which it's a prominent note, and I'm just not a fan of that anymore. So I think this is a decent product. The final rating, I'm going to be more on the 78. There's a lot of 70s today, friends. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Mike's going to come back and he's going to be like 95, and it's just going to blow everything up. But I think in general, this is a decent product. I think 78 is a solid rating for a Kentucky product, especially one that I've been so vocal about not liking. Let's get into some of the facts about this, because again, I have no idea what this is. We'll look at the price, and I'll let you know if I have it in my collection. Mary Dowling, that's what it is. Pallet passengers, as we glide closer to our next destination, take a moment to look out your window and cherish the glow of Louisville, Kentucky, a city rich in whiskey legend. From the storied arches of the Whiskey Row to the bustling banks of the Ohio River, this is where bourbon legends took flight. Tonight, we honor one of bourbon's most remarkable figures, Mary Dowling, known as the mother of bourbon. Mary embodied independence and resilience, defying the odds to preserve her distilling empire during Prohibition, even relocating operations to Mexico to preserve her legacy amidst the turbulence of times. Tonight's sample, tequila barrel finished bourbon, celebrates Kentucky's distilling with a touch of Mexican influence. As you lower our cruising altitude, pour yourself a dram of this masterpiece. Very interesting. That I would atone to the fact that it's very syrupy in the back because you're getting a lot of that agave note. I swear I'm not looking at this stuff. I don't know what else to tell you. And I'm happy, actually, that I did not read the back of the box for this one because I would assume that the back of the box probably says something along the lines of tequila barrel finished whiskey. There's no chance that any of you believe me at this point. and I'm fine with that. So Mary Dowling Tequila Barrel Finished Bourbon. This is 46.5% alcohol, 93 proof bourbon from the USA, Ob. I'm going to try to look to see what the mash bill on this is. But again, so it is a bourbon, so that makes sense. We talked about that. I thought it was probably a higher rye, but then as I was drinking it, I said it's probably a high rye bourbon. I have no idea. Let's look up to see what the price is on this, and then I'll look to see what the mash bill is. So for the price on Flavier's website, I am getting 80 bones, $79.99. That's super depressing, dude, because I was actually going to say for the first time in a very long time that I'd have this Kentucky whiskey in my collection. I do think it's good. Honestly, without knowing anything about this whiskey and tasting it, I do think this is a good product. For $80, would I spend $80 to buy this whiskey? I don't think so. I think if this was priced, this is $79.99. If this was priced at $69.99, I would probably buy it. Flavier Black has this for $76. Probably still wouldn't buy it at that price point though. But product description. Let's see if they have mash bill in here. But yeah, I just think that. Sorry, I'm gonna look at the mash bill. So Mary Dowling. I just think that it's a little bit overpriced for the product. I do like the fact that it's tequila. That could be mellowing out a lot of that rye note too. And the corn note, because it was very syrupy, and we definitely called that out when we tasted this. But I do think that it might be just slightly more expensive than I would like. Again, I think instead of $79.99, I would like to see this as a $69.99 product. So let's go tequila, finished bourbon, mash bill. It's probably going to be a typical like MGP mash bill of 74, whatever. Let's see if we can find it. I swear to God, if this is what it is, you guys are not going to believe me. There's no way that you believe me at this point. None at all. I'll tell you. So Mike and I, while I selected them over 21, actually pressed under 21. That's funny. Mike and I have talked about doing blind tastings more often. The problem with blind tastings, and this is probably a topic for something else because this review is probably getting long at this point, but the problem with blind tastings and doing it that way for whiskey product is terroir really isn't a thing when it comes to whiskey. It is, but it isn't, because 70% of the flavor that you get comes from the barrel. So any flavor notes that you would get because something was grown in Kentucky versus like North Dakota or something like that are going to be so diluted because of the barrel characteristics and where it's aged, like Kentucky, that you're not going to pick up where the grain is from. That being said, you can pick up a lot of other stuff, like this being syrupy, which could have put in my mind that this could potentially be aged in a secondary cask. I don't know if I would have called that it was tequila at all, but you can definitely point this stuff out. And the reason that I say this is because this says that it is the mash bill 70 corn, 25 malted rye, and 5% malted barley. So it is a high rye bourbon mash bill. Wild. I don't think that I would have this in my collection at that price point. If this was on sale for $69.99, I would 100% have this in my collection. This is a very good and interesting bourbon product coming out of Kentucky. No, it's technically not considered bourbon anymore because it was finished in a tequila cask, but it's still a pretty good product. I would pick it up for $69.99, not $79.99. Yeah! So if you find this in your liquor store close to you, go check it out. If you drank this with me, really appreciate your time today. Leave me a comment down below what you thought of today's review, and we will see you tomorrow for day, 10? Is this day 9? Yeah, hell yeah. Day 10. We will see you tomorrow for that. Share this with a friend. Let them know that we're doing this. It's a fun time. We will see you then. Please remember to always drink responsibly, be a good person, and don't litter. We're out.